do.
And what does it say?
Patient denies suicidal ideation.
Okay. So there's a huge difference between suicidal ideation and somebody having thoughts of suicide or being close to it, right?
Not exactly.
Well, you knew that the last time you spoke to the woman, she told you that she was close to having thoughts of killing herself, right?
Yes.
And you're her doctor, right?
Yes.
So what do? You just say, do you have, and check the box, and say, do you have any suicidal ideation? And she says no, and you check the box?
No, it's not that simple.
Do you ask her, like, well, gee, the last time I spoke to you, you told me that you were close to having suicidal thoughts of killing yourself. Did you pursue that on the 26th of October?
Yes.
And what did she say?
That she wasn't.
Now, how long was that appointment, if you recall? Would you agree it was 17 minutes and then there was some therapy?
The entire appointment was something between 25 and 30 minutes.
And that was again through the television, right?
The computer, yes.
Computer. Did you also add a drug called hydroxyzine?
Yes.
When was that?
So that was the same visit as an alternative to the Benadryl.
Okay, so on October 26th, when she told you that she was taking over-the-counter Benadryl, I asked you what you prescribed to her, and you said Ativan, right? Right?
Yes.
And then I asked you about the contraindication of Ativan and Benadryl, right?
You asked me about that, yes.
And then you, on October 26th, started her on Buspar, correct?
Yes.
And what is the purpose of Buspar? Is that for anxiety?
Yes.
And what kind of drug is Buspar?
It doesn't really fall into a class, but it does act on serotonin.
So it's another, similar to an SSRI, right?
It's kind of like a more mild version of an SSRI.
Okay. So she's on Benadryl over-the-counter, Ativan, which is a benzodiazepine, Buspar, which is an SSRI, and then you prescribe hydroxyzine on the same day, right?
They weren't all to be taken at the same time.
What's hydroxyzine?
Hydroxyzine is an antihistamine.
Okay. Is that over-the-counter, or is that, can you just buy that over-the-counter, or do you have to go to the back where the pharmacist is?
You have to go to the pharmacist.
Okay. And as far as you're concerned, she was taking the medications as she was required, right?
That's what I was told.
I'm sorry?
Yes, that's what I was told.
Did you, by her?
Yes.
And did you at any time tell her that she should keep a diary of her medications and keep a diary of any side effects that she has?
I didn't instruct her to do that.
You don't have to instruct somebody to do anything, but did you recommend it? Like say, hey, if you're on all these meds, if you're having an effect, you should write it down. When, time, date, anything like that?
I didn't tell her to do that.
Would that be helpful?
Maybe, but usually we go through all of that in the appointments, and we met very frequently.
Now, you'd agree with me that at this point, prior to the next appointment, which was November 2nd, she had gotten significantly worse, even after all this medication that you had been prescribing, right? Did you make a note that she was telling you that she had depression and that she was crying, had more anxiety, insomnia had increased, brain fog, and worrying about suicide?
In the couple weeks after starting those medicines, I don't recall that the symptoms were significantly exacerbated.
Okay. Friday afternoon, you answered the DA and you said that you recall that she used the word brain fog, right?
She used that at some point. I don't recall when.
Okay. What is brain fog?
It's a it's a very subjective feeling that someone might have where maybe it's, hard to think of a word that you're trying to think of, or maybe it feels like, maybe you're thinking of things a little bit more slowly than you normally would.
And how often was she dwelling on suicide?
At what point?
At the point she told you that she had anxiety, insomnia, brain fog, crying inconsolably.
Objection, if we could have a date.
I think he's going to get to that. Go.
October 26th, heading into November 2nd. Do you recall, I'll rephrase it, do you recall going into the November month, meeting with her, and she told you that she had brain fog?
It was mentioned at some point.
Okay.
I don't see that on the 26th specifically.
All right, so let's talk about brain fog. Did you ask her what that meant? Because when you say subjective, that means that's her interpretation. That's in her head. She's telling you, right?
Yes.
As opposed to objective, which would be what people in general would think, right?
Yes.
So when she's telling you, in addition to the anxiety, in addition to the crying, in addition to the stress that she was undergoing, she was worrying about suicide, she talked about brain fog. So you must have asked her, what does that mean? Subjectively, what does that mean?
Subjectively means in the patient's, own opinion. That's what their experience is.
Okay, so she's the one that's inside her head, right?
Yes.
So what were the symptoms? What is it? When a patient tells you that they have brain fog, is that something you would consider as being a potential side effect of the medications that you would put her on?
It depends.
On what?
I mean, sometimes it could be, and sometimes it could be unrelated. It's a symptom of depression as well. So sometimes it's hard to tell what it's attributed to.
So at this point, heading into November, your answer was to prescribe more medication, 3 more drugs, right? You prescribed Ativan, or increased the Ativan. What was her load for Ativan at this point? Do you remember?
Sorry?
What was her milligrams, if that's right, or nanograms, whatever it is, on the Ativan, on the script that you had provided her?
Objection, if we could just have a date.
I think you said, no, if you can answer that, go ahead.
Which date are we referring to for the Ativan? Because there were. I'm sorry.
She already objected. Oh. He already said you can answer it. When did you increase her Ativan and to what level?
So she was prescribed Ativan 0.5 milligrams.
Right. And
then when I next saw her, she said it was a little bit helpful. So I said you could increase it and see if 1 milligram is more helpful.
Did she increase it?
Yes.
And when was the next time you saw her to talk to her on the television or on the computer?
Well, I saw her on the 26th, and then I saw her on the 31st. I'm sorry.
How was she on the 31st? Halloween.
Sorry.
How was she?
That's not my note. That's her therapy note.
Okay. So how about this November 2nd? Was that the next time you saw her?
I saw her on November 2nd.
And she told you that she was hesitant to use the medications, the Buspar and the hydroxyzine, right?
She said she was hesitant to try the Buspar.
She was scared of the drug. She was scared of the drugs, right?
She was afraid to take a medication.
She wasn't doctor shopping and asking you to give her drugs so she could get high. She was asking you for help. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And she was afraid to take the drugs and told you that she was afraid to take the drugs, right?
She told me she was afraid to take the Buspar.
Did you advise her or counsel her or give her therapy about that? Validations?
Yes.
And what did you tell her?
Well, I advised her of, the risks.
What were the risks?
Well, the risks of medicine, like we had said, sedation or dizziness.
Okay. How about interfering with sleep?
Buspirone doesn't usually interfere with sleep.
Not usually? Did you ask her about any thoughts of suicide or being close to having thoughts of suicide?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you that she had any thoughts of suicide at all?
Not at that date.
Did she use those words, or is that a box that you checked off?
I don't remember her exact words, but we talked about suicide or, thoughts of hurting yourself.
Right. And there's a distinction between, in your records and the notation, between suicidal ideation and I quote, worrying about, thinking about suicide. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And what did she mean when she told you, as her doctor, that she was worrying about, thinking about suicide?
You mean in the prior appointment?
I'm talking about a woman that's sitting in front of you on your television or your computer telling you that she was worried about thinking about suicide.
Well, on the second, she didn't say that.
Okay. When was the next time that she told you that she was worried about or thinking about or suicidal ideation?
That was the December 1st visit.
Okay. So go back to the November 2nd visit. Would you agree with me that she, after you talked with her for that period, however long it was, that you then brought up 4 medications to her, recommending that they might be safer, and I quote, safer alternatives? Would you agree with that?
I see the word alternatives, not safer alternatives.
Do you remember talking to her about Remeron?
Yes.
Did you recommend that she take Remeron?
No.
Did you ever prescribe Remeron?
No.
And is that mirtazapine, as far as its generic name?
Yes.
And Remeron is an antidepressant, isn't that right?
Yes.
And you did not feel that that would be an appropriate medication for her to take at that time?
It was a very reasonable option, but we didn't decide to start it.
So is this a collaboration? In other words, you and the patient, you would both make a decision as to when to start a drug? Or is it your decision and advice to the patient?
Well, it's ultimately my decision, but the patient's thoughts about the matter are very important. At the end of the day, the patient has to go home and take it themselves. I'm not there to ensure that that is happening or not.
So you had a November 22nd appointment, right?
Yes.
And it was at that time that she told you that she had been to see South Shore Perinatal Clinic, right?
Yes.
And did she tell you why she was seeing someone from the South Shore Perinatal Clinic?
I think she told me that it was because they were exclusively focused on treating perinatal conditions.
Yeah, but so were you, right?
Not exclusively. I'm a general psychiatrist.
I see. And did she mention the name of any doctor or nurse practitioner that she was seeing at the South Shore Perinatal Clinic?
Yes.
Who'd she mention?
I think she said something about Julie.
Paul?
Yes.
Okay. And a woman by the name of Nurse Gelada?
I heard her name a little bit later, but yes.
Did she advise that, in fact, by script, she was using Ativan and Benadryl, and you told her to taper off the Ativan at that appointment, right? Had she tapered off the Ativan?
I think I had told her I gave her a prescribed taper prior to that appointment.
What does that mean? What does that mean, you gave her a prescribed taper?
So I told her that she should reduce her dose by 0.25 milligrams every 2 weeks until the medication was stopped.
Did she do that?
I don't believe that she completely stopped it, no.
No? You don't believe, or she didn't?
Well,
Trying to give the jury facts.
Yeah, she said she was taking Ativan, so no, she didn't completely stop it.
Had she tapered?
I'm not sure how much she had reduced the dose because I wasn't prescribing it again.
Right. So, did you know that she had been, or had she been, to any emergency wards between that period of time that you last saw her and when you were seeing her on this meeting?
I know she went to the ER, but I think it was after that.
Okay, which ER did she go to? Do you know?
I think she went to Mass General.
Do you know why she went to the ER?
Because of depression.
So, was she treated at the ER? Did they make any, to your knowledge, as her doctor, make any recommendations?
I'm not sure what they told her, but they ultimately
Go ahead.
Discharged her. They didn't admit her.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
That's all right. Was she put on any medication?
Not from the ER.
When you looked at the records from South Shore Perinatal Clinic, what did they indicate about suicidal ideation, worrying about suicide, close to suicide, anything?
I didn't have access to those records.
You're going to keep your voice up so everybody can hear you. You what?
I did not have access to those records.
None.
Because we're a completely separate clinic.
Seriously?
Objection.
She's visiting with you as a patient and you can't access her medical records? Is what you're telling this jury?
I did not have access to them, no.
Could she have signed a release, a HIPAA form?
Yes, she could have.
And you could have got the records.
Yes.
But you didn't.
I did not feel like it was necessary because she provided all the relevant information about her treatment there.
How do you know? She's got mental disease and she's seeing you and she's on all this cocktail of drugs. How do you know that she is an accurate historian at this point in her life?
It felt very accurate when she was able to recall the names of the medicines, doses of the medicines, specific days. She provided a lot of incredibly detailed information. So it showed me she was capable of doing that.
So when you talked to her husband, Pat, how many times did you talk to her husband, Pat?
I think
The guy was living with her.
I think it was once.
And he came to your office, right? No, he didn't. He got on the television or on the computer screen, right?
Yes.
And when was that?
I think it was the December 16th visit.
So let's...
Reddington, before we get to that,
Okay.
it's probably a good spot to stop. We're going to take the morning recess, and then we'll come right back. Okay?
Court, all rise. Sir, please close your notebooks, place them on your chairs. Wait, please. Exit out, Sergeant.
in session. Please be seated.
You all set for the jury?
Yes.
Court, all rise. Jurors enter. This court is now in session. Please be seated.
Your Honor, for the purpose of the record, we return back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, including the defendant and the 18 jurors.
All right, thank you. Mr. Reddington.
If you would just please look at your medical records that you have in front of you, I believe, and just go back to the October 20th record, where you have, I believe it's called interval history.
I had trouble hearing the date. Can you repeat that?
Sure, October 20th. Sorry.
Okay.
So looking at the interview history, that's when that you decided to start Zoloft. It says a week ago, right?
That's when the patient started it, yes.
Okay. And she then increased the dose, and it says last night, right?
Yes.
And what was she telling you on the computer screen when you were talking to her? What did she say about increasing the dose of the Zoloft?
That she felt awful. She couldn't sleep. Had insomnia, which became worse when she increased the dose. She didn't want to eat. She was having diarrhea. Food felt really unappealing. She was more depressed on it, crying all day yesterday, which is not normal for her. She had some mental fog and was terrified to start something new.
Did she also tell you about her anxiety level?
Anxiety was really bad even before med. Now, hard to differentiate. Overnight, racing thoughts, paranoid of getting suicidal thoughts, something bad happening, doesn't want to be alone.
That must have given you concern that you had a pretty sick patient on your hands at that point, right?
I was concerned, yes.
So you gave her some therapy, did you?
I gave her some therapy in conjunction with discussing all of her symptoms and assessing her and managing the medication.
Okay, and again, I apologize. You have to keep your voice up so people can hear you way down here. So when you say that you were talking about the symptoms, and what did you do? Just talk about the same thing that we've just gone over, the symptoms?
There were a number of them to discuss in more detail. That's the summary of them.
Okay. So did she discuss it in detail?
Yes.
Did she tell you that her symptomology at this point on October 20th was so bad that she had to have her mother come and stay with her?
Her mom was coming to provide support, yes.
She wasn't coming to provide support. She was coming to stay with them, to live with them, wasn't she?
Yes, I don't know for how long, but yes.
Did you bother to ask her? Why is her mother having to stay with them?
Because she needed some help.
Do you know how long her mother stayed with her?
I don't.
Do you know that she ended up sleeping in the basement?
I don't.
Do you know that she ended up sleeping with her mother?
I don't.
So you decided that you'd stop the Zoloft and you would monitor closely, right?
Yes.
What does that mean, you'd monitor closely?
Well, I saw her the next day, so that's monitoring, an example of
Okay.
monitoring closely.
So this would be on October 21st that you saw her the next day, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, on the 20th, you made reference to the fact that you also recommended that she try fish oil and things of that nature, natural remedies.
Yes.
Okay. You also wanted to look into what's called Zulresso, Z-U-L-R-E-S-S-O.
Yes.
What's Zulresso?
It is a treatment for postpartum depression.
And when you say that you were looking into it, what did you do? Did you find out if it was available and if she could participate in the program?
I did some digging online to see where it is done and how to do it. I hadn't officially recommended it, so I had not started that for her. It's not really an easy medicine that I could just start.
It's not a what? I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's not a medication I could start on my own. It is it's infused through an IV in a hospital, so it's a bit difficult to coordinate.
It's a 60-hour infusion, right?
It's a long infusion. That sounds right.
And it's about 2.5 days of infusion, and it has to be under hospital circumstance, and the only hospital around here is in Rhode Island, right?
Yes.
And did you ever recommend that she do that?
It was something to consider. I couldn't make the official recommendation because that's not something I prescribe.
Why?
Because you can't pick that up at the pharmacy.
Well, no, obviously you have to go to a hospital setting and basically have an infusion through your veins for 60 hours or 2.5 days, but why didn't you look into it or recommend that she do that?
Well, I did look into it.
So what happened?
She ended up actually going to a partial hospitalization program at the hospital that does it. I don't believe the program was completed, but she went. And I advised her to discuss it with them because they have access to that medicine. I don't have access to it.
Of course not. Is this Women and Infants Hospital in Rhode Island that you're talking about?
Yes.
So when you looked at the medical records for Women and Infants Hospital, did they make reference to your inquiry to Zulresso?
I never received records from women and infants.
Did you ever look at them or even online?
Online?
Yeah, like online, like you do when you talk to patients.
No, I never had access to them.
Why?
It's similar to South Shore. It's a completely separate hospital that I don't have access to. I don't work there.
Well, of course you don't work there, but you're a doctor and you're treating a patient who's got medical records that you could access through a HIPAA release, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you do that?
Well, she didn't ultimately end up having any treatment there, so it didn't seem necessary.
She didn't end up having any treatment there, so it didn't seem necessary. You can't just walk into that place and say, hey, I'd like some Zulresso, can you?
I don't exactly know how it works.
And then again, on that date, which would be October 20, when the jurors are looking at the records, you checked off the boxes again on objective findings, mental status exam, appearance, speech, things of that nature, correct?
Yes.
Excuse me for 1 minute, Judge, jurors. So when she was telling you on that date that she was in quoting your records, paranoid of getting suicidal thoughts and something bad happening, doesn't want to be alone, what did she mean by that?
Well, those were a lot of her words.
Right. Isn't that a concern? If your patient is telling you she doesn't want to be alone, why didn't she want to be alone?
She was very anxious and had the feeling like something bad might happen.
Okay. Did her mother ultimately and dad come to stay with them?
Yes.
How long did they stay with them?
I don't know.
When you talked to the mother and the father, did you say to them, what is she doing? How does she appear? Is she in bed all day? What did they tell you?
They never called my office, so I never spoke with them.
They never called your office?
They never called me or sent a message, so I did not have communication with them.
So that's their fault that they didn't call you, the doctor, I guess, right? So, do you think maybe it would be reasonable if you're the doctor and you're investigating your patient's symptomology that you might, when you know that the parents are staying with her, that you would make a phone call yourself?
It's not typical when you have an adult who is able to advocate for themselves to speak with their parents.
So while she is telling you about her symptomology and tearfulness and crying and unable to get up and anxiety and the medications and the mental illness that she had, you felt that she could advocate for herself?
Yes.
Okay, on the television, on the computer.
Yes.
The next time you saw her was on October 26th, is that correct? And you can pull up your record.
Yes.
Now, and if you look again at the interval history where you put down what's going on in the patient's life that time, this is when she indicated that she's back to where she felt that she was before Zoloft, which was not great, and that you guys were considering a new medication. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you started her on Ativan, as we talked about, right?
Yes.
And then you started her on the buspirone, right?
Well, she had already been started on the Ativan, and then we added the buspirone.
So my question was, you started her on buspirone, right?
Yes.
Okay. And also you added hydroxyline as needed, right?
Yes.
And you continued the Ativan, correct?
Yes.
Did you discuss side effects with her at that point?
Yes.
Did you also discuss starting Remeron or pregabalin?
Yes.
What did you tell her about Remeron and pregabalin?
I don't think I went into any detail about those medicines, just that those might be things to consider in the future.
And then you saw her on October 31st, right?
That was her. I think that was just a therapy appointment with a different provider.
Would that be Jennifer McAllister?
Yes.
So it's a different provider in the sense that she works for Astor, right?
Well, yes, it just wasn't myself.
Right. So on October 31st, they did a suicide assessment, or she did, right, McAllister?
I wasn't there.
Well, I know you weren't there, but these are medical records that have been introduced into evidence that the jury's going to have in the jury room.
Objection, is that a question?
No, good. Next question.
McAllister did a suicide assessment, apparently, right?
I'm sure she assessed.
No,
for
look at the
suicide.
record, please,
Where do you see it? Sorry.
where it says suicide assessment. There's only 4 pages for October 31st. Well, actually, there would be 8 because it's 2 sides.
So that is the assessment that you go through. If somebody reports any thoughts of suicide, then you ask those questions, which go into a lot more detail about them.
So here you have a patient who's already reported to you as a psychiatrist that she's got suicidal ideation, worried about suicide, worried about killing herself days before October 31st, and a suicide assessment was done by McAllister, right?
I wasn't there. You would have to ask her.
Well, maybe I will if she comes in. Why don't you tell me what the record shows? Did they do a suicide assessment? Did she check off the little boxes?
I'm looking for that section. It says that patient denies suicidal or homicidal ideation at this time.
Okay, so again, this is on October 31st, right? the patient, within a period of a couple of days and meetings with you, that McAllister has access to because the records are within your business, right?
It's not my business, but yes.
Has reported suicidal ideation and fear and dwelling about killing herself and afraid of those thoughts, right?
I just want to be absolutely clear. So yes, you know, a
Yes, the
little
answer is
while
yes.
earlier, she had voiced those concerns.
Right. So as a result of voicing those concerns, is it your understanding that McAllister did not do any of the suicide assessment questions because Lindsay reported that she wasn't suicidal?
It appears that she asked about suicide.
Right, you already told us that. I'm asking you about, excuse me, she's not,
Hold on. Answer this question. Go
thank you. I'm not asking you, you've told us 3 times now that she said she was not suicidal when she spoke to McAllister. I'm asking you about the suicide assessment for the 3rd time. You see it in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me, did Lindsay answer any of the questions that were asked over the 2 pages, possibly 3, of the suicide assessment? Yeah, 3, done by McAllister.
I don't see anything written here.
So was there a suicide assessment?
I don't know because I wasn't there. I don't know what.
And you don't know from looking at the records, right?
From looking at the records, I don't see evidence of additional suicidal questions beyond asking if it was there or not.
So, the suicidal assessment, doctor, is in the medical records. It consumes almost 4 pages, does it not? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And all of the questions, like asking, have you felt life is not worth living? Is death something you thought about recently? Are you dwelling on that? What leads up to the thoughts? What are the thoughts? All those questions, right? For 4 pages, right?
Yes.
And there is not one notation indicating that that test was ever administered to her on October 31st, correct?
Correct. But it looks like it was asked in other ways.
Yeah, okay. November 2nd. Oh, it was asked in other ways? Is that what the little checkbox where it says denies suicidal ideation?
Can I read something that she
You
wrote
have
down?
indicated repeatedly that she denied suicidal ideation, right?
Yes.
Okay. The suicidal assessment was not administered, according to the record that's in front of you, by McAllister, yes?
The additional suicidal assessment, yes.
November 2nd. Oh, by the way, as a psychiatrist, not a psychologist, you have the ability to prescribe medication, obviously, right?
Yes.
And that's what we talked about, the DEA number and all of that, correct, which you had for about a month, other than when you were a resident, right?
Yes.
So you're prescribing these SSRIs and antipsychotics and antitropics or whatever they are, and it's important as to the metabolism of your patient with those drugs, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, keep your voice up. What does metabolism mean?
The body breaking down the medication.
So how is it that you can determine how the body of your patient is breaking down the medication that is in their brain and they're complaining about all of these symptoms? How, as a doctor, do you determine how the body's breaking it down?
We don't typically have any specific testing that we do to understand that.
How about a blood test?
It's not done for that.
It's not done for that, meaning a blood test is not done to determine the metabolism of your patient, of your medications?
referring to genetic testing?
No, I'm asking about the metabolism. I'm not talking about genetics. I'm talking about the metabolism of the SSRIs in her body.
Okay.
You can tell that metabolism rate through blood testing, right?
Not in the way that you're describing.
Okay, what way would it be?
There is genetic testing that can give information about metabolism.
Like what?
It can talk about different enzymes that a person might have to suggest it provides information about the enzymes that a person might have the genes for.
Okay, so it provides the enzymes that a person might have the genes for. Forgive me, I'm having difficulty with that. What does that mean?
It's a little complicated.
Yeah, you don't expect a patient that's going through what she was going through to understand that, would you?
No,
Did you guys do the enzyme test?
they are not typically done.
Why?
Because, again, it's genetics.
Does
and-
insurance cover it?
Actually, it's just in the middle of answering.
Finish that answer and I'll allow a follow-up. Go ahead.
So it's not as simple as testing for an enzyme or not. You can test someone's genome, like we have the ability to test the entire human genome now, but which is great, but the clinical use of that is not there yet. So while we can test these things, it does not yield meaningful clinical information. So it's not commonly done.
What is the Cytopro P4-50 system?
That's one of the enzymes I'm talking about.
So the Cytopro P450 system talks about and tests for the breakdown of psychiatric meds in the blood, right?
It's not in the way that you're describing. It doesn't
All I'm
tell you
describing
what
it is that it's a
Hold on,
test.
again, one at a time. Finish the answer and then you can ask follow-up.
It just, yes, this is a test that is done, but it doesn't tell you what medications a patient will do better on. It's not useful in that way.
So what's it useful for?
I mean, I don't find it terribly useful.
How long has the Cytopro P450 system been in use in your field?
Sorry?
How long has the Cytopro P450 system been in use in your field, psychiatry?
Well, it's an enzyme in the body.
Well, I know what it is. I'm asking you about the system, the testing. How long have they been using that?
The genetic testing,
Yeah,
maybe
whatever
a few
it is.
years. It's very new,
Very new. Does insurance cover it?
sometimes.
Sometimes. So it is nevertheless a legitimate test to determine the breakdown of psychiatric meds in a patient's blood, correct?
It exists, yes.
It exists. Well, it exists, but you didn't use it, right?
It would not have made a difference
In what? In your opinion?
in her treatment.
Because you go by the checks in the checkbox and what she self-reports, right?
No, not just the checks in the checkbox.
Oh. In any event, tell me about the thyroid.
The
Tell me about the
thyroid,
thyroid.
it's an organ in the human body that regulates hormones.
And what, if any, import and impact do thyroid levels have in your evaluation of a woman who is in the throes of postpartum depression?
They don't.
What is the purpose of a test to determine the thyroid levels?
Well, you can test something like the TSH.
Well, I don't know what a TSH is. I'm sorry. What is a TSH?
Thyroid stimulating hormone.
Okay, thank you.
That's something that can be tested, typically by maybe a PCP, primary care, or endocrinologist if they have concerns about someone's thyroid function.
Were you aware of a study that was a major study that was peer-reviewed? What does peer-reviewed mean in your business?
That it was reviewed by other researchers in similar fields.
And the report or the article or whatever it may be has to be approved by the peers that are reviewing it before it can be published, right?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that in the medical field, it's a big deal to have publishing articles on your resume, right?
Yes.
And how many articles have you published about postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, anything?
I have published something, but it's not a full article. It's just a small thing.
Okay. Are you aware of the psychiatry magazine article dealing with, in 2021, thyroid function in postpartum psychosis, an exploratory study? Have you ever heard of anything about that, let alone read an article about it?
No.
Are you aware that there are studies that have compared thyroid function between psychosis with postpartum onset, PPO, psychosis without postpartum onset, PWPO, and normal postpartum? You aware of that?
No.
Well, you're supposed to be an expert, or you specialize, or you have an interest in treating women that have suffered from postpartum, correct?
Yes.
Have you written any articles at all about postpartum depression, anxiety, psychosis?
No, I'm not a researcher. I'm a clinician.
Have you read any of the articles, such as thyroid function in postpartum psychosis?
I've read many articles. There are thousands. I have not read that specific article.
Thousands? Thousands of articles on postpartum psychosis and the thyroid?
No, not on that specific topic.
So, when the Astor doctors are treating a person like Lindsay, it's your testimony to this jury that testing, whether it's blood testing or whether it's the Cytopro P4 testing, is not necessary because Jennifer Tufts doesn't think it's necessary, right?
It does not yield information that would influence treatment.
Really? So if there was elevation in the thyroid, that wouldn't impact on your treatment at all, your evaluation, your investigation?
Sorry, I thought you had mentioned the cytochrome issue. Are we talking about that one, or are we talking about the thyroid?
We're talking about the thyroid.
Okay.
Yeah. So if there were tests that revealed elevation in the thyroid level, is it your testimony that you wouldn't care?
If I somehow found out that a patient had elevated thyroid levels, I would advise them to talk to their primary care or maybe get an endocrinologist to discuss it.
Did you ever recommend that Lindsay get an endocrinologist?
No, she
And the
did
reason,
not.
the answer is no. And you basically did not have any information that you could use to even realize that there might have been a thyroid issue with this woman that was postpartum, right? Because you didn't do any blood tests.
There was no clinical reason to obtain a blood test.
All right. So you continue on with your meetings by the computer, correct?
Yes.
November 2nd. You can get November 2nd out. You got it?
November 22nd?
No, it looks like November 2nd. I apologize. That's what I'm looking at. Tufts, Jennifer, MD, Clancy, Lindsay. Follow-up note, November 2nd.
Yes.
Okay. And you're still diagnosing her with generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, right?
Yes.
You add in there an adjustment disorder with depressed mood, I guess because of what she had been telling you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Looking at the psychiatric condition, you note that it's improving.
Yes.
And then you determined that you will decrease the Ativan to 0.75 milligrams for 2 weeks, and then decrease it to 0.5 milligrams for 2 weeks, and consider alternatives for sleep anxiety. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you note if she's having urges to harm herself or others, to go to the nearest emergency room and call 911 and things of that nature, correct?
Yes.
So is that a form that you basically press a button, because it seems to be kind of like a generic advice. Call 911 if you're feeling suicidal and things of that nature.
Well, that's advice that we provide for every single patient.
Okay. And then you note that half the encounter was on counseling or coordination of care on November 2nd, right?
Yes, that's a typical statement. It's just a part of documentation that doctors use.
All right. Now, on November 2nd, you were suggesting the 4 drugs that she would start would be Remeron, Trazodone, Pregabalin, and hydroxyzine, right?
Those were just things we were considering.
Oh.
I wasn't starting all of those medicines.
I see. On November 22nd, now that would be almost 3 weeks later, right? You saw her, right? And did you ask her about whether or not she was still having suicidal thoughts or worrying about suicidal thoughts, for example? Did you ask her that?
Yes,
And how do you know that? Because the box is checked?
it's written in my note.
What does it say?
Patient denies SI.
Okay. What did you ask her about that?
I don't remember the exact words, but I know that I asked about that.
Did you ask her about how things were going at home with her mother and father staying there?
That I don't remember. I didn't document how her parents were doing.
Okay. Well, I don't really care about how her parents were doing. I'm asking about whether or not you asked her how it was working out while her parents were there helping out. If you did, fine. If you didn't, that's fine too.
I don't think that I did. In this
Okay.
appointment, she
Okay. That's all. That's fine. December 1st was the next appointment, correct? And you can look at the interval history.
yes.
Now, on that December 1st appointment, this is after she had transferred to South Shore.
Yes.
She disclosed to you that she had been seeing South Shore, right?
Yes.
We already talked about the fact that you never got the records from South Shore, so you don't know, other than what Lindsay reported to you, what medications she was on, right?
Right. I knew what she was telling me.
Right, and she told you that she was doing the Ativan taper, right?
Well, she said she had tried doing that, but that then she was having more sleep.
Having difficulty sleeping is what she indicated to you, right?
Yes.
And she tried other meds that you had suggested, but stated that she was having difficulty with those meds, including Trazodone, right?
Well, the trazodone she didn't have a problem with. It just didn't seem like it was particularly helpful.
Right. Did you prescribe the Trazodone or somebody else?
This was somebody else.
So, do you know what the milligrams were that she was on?
It says she tried between 50 and 150 milligrams.
All right. Now, did she at some point try Remeron?
She said that she did.
Did you suggest in your discussions that she try Remeron?
No, I did not.
Did she indicate to you that she had rebound anxiety and intrusive thoughts, that she was going to die? Do you recall that?
Well, she said worse depression and intrusive thoughts.
Okay. Did she tell you what the intrusive thoughts were?
It was the feeling like I'm going to die.
Did she then have a script for Prozac, 10 milligrams?
That's what she said.
And she said that she couldn't sleep and had worse sleep, so that had to be stopped, right?
Yes.
She had, then she tried. She was on Klonopin, right?
Yes.
And what is Klonopin?
It's a benzodiazepine.
And on December 1st is when she told you, again, that she was close to having suicidal ideation, feeling hopeless. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Now, on the interval history, on that date, you indicated that she can't sleep, she's panicking, she had worse depression, intrusive thoughts, she was numb, nothing mattered, I feel like I'm going to die, denies suicidal ideation, but, quote, yesterday, close to it, feeling hopeless. Did you give her therapy and validations after she told you that?
I did.
What did you do? You got a woman that's telling you that she's hopeless. She doesn't care if she dies. Can't sleep. What did you do to validate on your therapy?
I told her that this was something that we could address, that there was hope, that there were treatments, and there are different types of treatment programs that are more supportive, like partial hospitalization programs. So she knew that she still had options and a reason to hope.
Did you ever suggest to her that maybe you ought to come in and see me rather than talk on the computer?
Talking with her over the video did not seem like an issue. It didn't seem like there was anything that I was missing or that there was any need to see her in person.
Now, you'd agree with me that in December of 2022, COVID was all done, right?
It wasn't completely all done.
Were you still nervous about dealing with people and wearing masks and stuff, or were you able to sit down and talk to somebody face to face?
We were definitely feeling more comfortable about being face to face with people, but I think, it was still something that we thought about.
You discussed trying Seroquel with her at that point, right?
I didn't really discuss it. She had told me that was something that she had discussed with her other provider.
So, looking at your notes, does it say also discussed trying Seroquel alone tonight? Did your notes say that?
It says yes,
What is
but
that?
I wasn't making a recommendation about the Seroquel. It was just a medicine I was providing her more information on.
So you were telling her about the Seroquel? You're providing information?
Yes, we were talking about the Seroquel.
Right. Why?
Because her provider had recommended that she start it.
What is Seroquel?
Antipsychotic.
You also discussed with her the possibility of undiagnosed bipolar disorder, did you not?
It was discussed.
And undiagnosed bipolar disorder was, in your opinion, as a result of, not a reaction, but extreme reaction to the SSRIs, right?
Not as a result of the SSRIs, but that
Does your note say, and I quote, also discussed possibility of undiagnosed bipolar disorder given extreme reaction to SSRIs and insomnia, period. Does it say that?
Yes.
Those are your notes, right?
Yes, the way you were saying it made it sound a little bit different before, but that's exactly what I wrote.
I read it directly from your note, right? How did I make it sound different?
I don't know. It sounded different the first time you said it than the second.
So did she have bipolar?
No.
Did you make that decision that night? That day?
I assessed that with her pretty much every time that I saw her, and she never had mania.
What about mood stabilizer like Lamictal? Did you discuss that with her?
Yes.
What is Lamictal?
It's an anticonvulsant, but it's used in treating mood disorders.
So what was the end result of your meeting with her on December 1st? What did you guys do? Did you give her any recommendations, advice, anything?
Yeah, well, so at this time I was
Not prescribing her medications, but I was still concerned, not concerned enough that she was at imminent risk of hurting herself or anybody else, given what she said. But we had a plan for her to pursue a partial hospitalization program.
Where was that?
Well, the one that I had recommended was HRI.
What is that, HRA?
It's a hospital in Brookline.
And did she ultimately go to another hospital?
She ultimately went to the Women and Infants Hospital for 1 day.
And those are the records that you did get, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you decided that she did not have bipolar disorder because, in your opinion, she did not meet, and I quote, the criteria, right? And that would be the criteria in the DSM, right?
Yes.
And the DSM, of course, is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, Roman numeral 5, meaning text revision, right?
Yes.
Is that what you were using back then? Would be this thing here, DSM-5, TR. This is DSM, right? It's like a cookbook, right?
It's more of a guideline that we use
to help us in our treatment, but it's not the psychiatry Bible that people sometimes think that it is.
Right. Hypomanic bipolar disorder. How many days does that require under the DSM?
A hypomanic episode lasts for at least 4 days.
And is that per the DSM?
Yes.
Remember on Friday you said that the most important criteria is 7 days with continued high energy levels?
Yes.
So is it 7 days or is it 4 days? And who says?
Well, mania is 7 days. Hypomania is 4.
Discussed again, nothing does occur on December 1st, and that's the Lamont sheet, right?
Yes.
And do you know in your records that she indicated that she was really struggling, and it was as a result of that you recommended that hospital program, correct? Would you agree that she had, in your opinion, a severe mental disturbance at that point that was manifesting itself?
She had a maybe moderate heading towards severe.
Moderate heading towards severe mental issue. Okay. You'd agree with me that she had increased anxiety, right?
Yes.
She had very, very increased depression, right?
Well, she did. She said.
Okay, so as you answer
symptom
yes, can you just answer yes or no?
I'm sorry, I was just trying to check the record.
Okay, you can check the record all you want, but if I ask you a question respectfully, can you just not go on and ramble? Answer yes or no, that's all.
It's sometimes impossible to do that.
All right, you tell me.
Here, if you can't answer yes or no, just say you can't answer yes or no. If you can answer yes or no, answer yes or no. That's how we do it, all right?
Okay.
Thank you. Now, mental issues like anxiety that was diagnosed, the depression that was diagnosed, and the fact that she indicated yet again that she was close to suicidal ideation, quote, worried about suicidal thoughts, but you indicated that she wasn't suffering from suicidal ideation on that date. Is that fair?
She denied it.
But she told you that she was worried about suicidal ideation and having suicidal thoughts, right?
Well, this was the time she said she was worried that she was close to having suicidal thoughts.
So did you ask her what does that mean? Does that mean that she's standing at the edge of the stairs and she's thinking about falling down the stairs or what? What does that mean? I'm close to suicidal ideation.
So I asked about that, and that's when she said she described it further as using the word hopeless.
So did you prescribe the lamotrigine on that occasion or no?
No.
on December 16th, that's the next appointment she had, right?
Yes.
That'd be 2 weeks later, right?
Yes.
She was still not well, correct? She told you she was having a really rough time.
She was sleeping, but she was still feeling very broken.
In your notes, does it say that she was having a really rough time?
Yes.
So when I asked you, if your notes reflected that she said she was having a really rough time, why do you feel compelled to say she was sleeping?
Objection.
It's an important detail.
Yeah, I guess. How about the rough time? What did that mean? What were the symptoms of having a really rough time for this kid? Yeah, I'd like you to answer that.
So finally works, referring to the Valium-Quetiapine, but very depressed during the day, no motivation, some SI. Do you want me to continue?
Sure.
Went to MGH emergency room for SI, declined inpatient, feeling hopeless, no intent or plan, and feels like depression related to Seroquel.
Okay. Now that's the question on Friday that, well, strike that. So what was the SI, suicidal ideation?
Yes.
And can you read that back to me again? What did she say about SI?
So that when she went to the hospital, she went because she had no motivation, some SI.
Some SI meaning that she had some suicidal ideation, right? Yes?
In her words, yes.
Yeah, in her words. As opposed to thinking about having suicidal ideation or worrying about suicidal ideation. She actually indicated that she had suicidal ideation, right?
That's a yes or no.
Well, it's in your notes that she said that, right? Yes?
What is in my note?
Do you understand my question?
I'm a little bit confused right now. Can you repeat what your
I
question
apologize.
is?
Sure, of course. We've spent some time talking about thinking about suicidal ideation, worrying about suicidal ideation. Now, saying she had suicidal ideation, right?
She said it, yes.
Yeah. Well, this is the only source of information that you're getting, apparently, is what she's telling you, right?
Yes.
So what suicidal ideation did she have? Was she thinking of cutting her throat? Was she thinking of throwing herself off a building or running out in front of a car? What?
No.
What was she thinking of?
So I asked her those important follow-up questions. And
Like
that's, so what do you mean when you say I'm feeling suicidal?
Okay.
And that's when she said, it means I'm feeling hopeless. And then I asked you, do you have intention of hurting yourself? Do you have a plan for hurting yourself? And she denied those.
And that's where you left it?
I'm sure more was said, but that's the most important part of that clinical encounter.
And did you give a therapy by the computer on that date, too?
Yes.
What did you do for therapy about her suicidal ideation and saying she wanted to kill herself?
Well, we explored what that meant, and what to do if you're feeling that way.
To do what? Call 911?
To go to the emergency room.
Did you discuss prescribing Seroquel to her, or was she getting Seroquel? Did Seroquel enter into your discussion at all?
We talked about it. I was not prescribing it for her.
What is Seroquel?
That's an antipsychotic.
So, at the conclusion of your meeting on December 16th, basically what you took away is that she had now increased to suicidal ideation, was feeling hopeless, all the rest of the things that we've talked about, and then she just moved on, went home?
Well, she was assessed in the emergency room and was not admitted, and I assessed her on the day again, and while she was certainly struggling, she did not require hospitalization at that moment. So she was planning on going to an infants program, and I supported that.
Did you know that around that time she confessed to her husband that she was having now thoughts of harming the children?
No.
Would that have been something you were concerned about?
If I heard that, I would have been very concerned.
You would have called DCF, right?
I might have.
And when you spoke to Pat, did you ever ask him what his observations were of her spiraling into November and December? Not that one time that he stuck his face on the computer and talked to you. Did you ever talk to him?
He never called me again. Or he never called at all. I never spoke with him again.
So he is a husband of a woman, just had a baby, who was postpartum with all of these symptoms that we talked about, all of the drugs that you were prescribing and that she was dealing with trying to get help. You never talked to her husband about what he observed? Because he didn't call you?
Well, we did speak on that visit,
Which visit?
the 16th. Or I think that's the one that he was at.
You think it was. It's not noted in your records?
It's not noted, but I remember some of what we talked about, and so in reading that record, it seems like that's the likely one that he was at.
December 16th, on your objective findings, you note that her mood was depressed, right?
Yes.
And what does that mean? Did she just say, I'm depressed, or did she give you symptoms? I mean, you checked the little box.
Yeah, I think she's saying that she's depressed.
Okay, so you're the doctor. You checked the little box. What did your patient tell you about her symptoms that she was depressed on that date? Was she crying? Was she able to get out of bed? Was she worshiping at the porcelain god? What was going on in her life?
She said she was having a really tough time.
Her affect was flat, right?
Yes.
And again, depressed. You check it off twice. One under mood and one under affect, right?
Yes.
And then at the next page it says recent lab work. That wouldn't be blood testing, would it? I mean, does ASTA do blood testing?
We don't have a phlebotomist or a lab, no.
Well, why does it say recent lab work typed into your form where you check off the little boxes?
That's something that auto-populates. It's a template that...
It's a what?
Many different... It's a template. The whole note is something that psychiatrists or probably all across the country use.
Probably. You can't diagnose someone's illness by a template, though, can you?
No.
You filled in, no lab results were found, right?
There were none in the computer, yes. I didn't type that in, though.
So who typed it in?
It was auto-populated.
So on the next page where it talks about symptom goals, treatment goals, I'm sorry, symptom reduction and improved functioning. What does that mean?
Symptom reduction is to have fewer mental health symptoms, and improved functioning means, improved, day-to-day life functioning, things that she's doing in her daily life.
Really? Did you tell her all that? You get a young woman that's obviously mentally ill, very sick. She's deteriorating, whether you like that word or it's automatically imported. What, on that date, did you do? Never mind all those words you just said. What did you tell her on the television or the computer?
I told her to go to the partial hospitalization program, and if she was having more suicidal thoughts again, or felt like she was at risk of hurting herself or anybody else, that she should go immediately to the emergency room.
How long did that meeting take?
Probably about 30 minutes.
And was that the therapy that you provided, telling her to go to the emergency room?
I mean, that was probably a component.
So the plan, excuse me, on December 16th was to follow up with women and infants, right?
Yes.
Did she?
Yes.
Do you know when?
I don't know
What does that
exactly
mean?
the day.
You
Shortly
know?
after.
Then you were considering a brexanolone or brexanolone infusion, right?
That's the Zolbrexone.
That's the same thing in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Okay. And that didn't go anywhere, right? That's the end of that. It says start Lamictal, 25 milligrams daily, right?
Yes.
Continue Seroquel, right? What was the milligram for the Seroquel up to at this point?
Well, she had told me it was 200.
Well,
That
was
was
it? Was it?
I did not write that prescription, so that's what her provider had prescribed her.
Okay, so you can ask somebody to show me the pill bottle. You can ask somebody to show me the CVS receipt. You can ask somebody you can call to verify, right?
I could.
Yeah. But anyway, she said that she was on Seroquel 200 milligrams, right, and had stopped with the Valium, right?
Yes.
And then you go on with that form thing saying if you have urges to harm yourself or others, you got to call 911, crisis hotlines, and everything else, right? That's the next two paragraphs that are in that report, right?
Yes.
Was her mother and father still staying with her on December 16th, if you know, with Pat and the kids?
I'm not sure.
Did you ever ask anybody other than her how she was doing?
I asked her husband when he was at the appointment.
Yeah, that's the other appointment. Though. How about now? We're talking December 16th into the month of December. Did you ever ask anyone how she was doing?
I think he was at that visit.
You think he was at the visit? How did he tell? What did he say to you about how she was doing?
He said she wasn't doing well.
She's got an objection, Judge.
Objection.
Go ahead.
He said she wasn't doing well.
Anything else?
Yeah. He felt that it might have been, his opinion was that it was related to when she started the Seroquel.
And he basically said you guys are turning her into a zombie, right?
Objection.
Are those his words?
I don't have that written. He may have said that.
Does that kind of hit you, though? You might remember that. You might have been, as some people worry about suicide, you might be thinking in your brain that he did say you're turning her into a zombie. Possible.
It's very possible.
Okay. Excuse me. Next meeting after the December 16th, was it? Is it December 16th? Is that what we were just on?
Yes.
Okay. The next meeting was January 6th?
Yes.
Okay. And how does this happen? Does the patient call? I know you don't set up these appointments. Somebody has to deal with somebody in administration or whatever. But do you, like on December 16th, say to Lindsay, call me or set up an appointment for January 6th, or do they have to do it themselves?
So at the end of an appointment, I typically will schedule their next appointment.
So did you schedule January 6th?
I think that one she scheduled herself.
Yeah, that was the day after she got out of McLean, right?
Yeah, usually the hospital coordinates the discharge appointment.
Well, if I tell you that, in fact, the hospital told her to set up the appointment, and that within an hour, she set up the appointment. Is that in your notes?
It's not in my notes. No.
Do you remember that? That was a pretty big deal when she was in McLean, locked wards for 4.5 days, right?
Yes.
And she's your patient, and she's really gone downhill bad, right?
She wasn't doing well.
And she admitted herself to the lock wards at McLean, right?
Yes.
And what was the diagnosis at McLean?
I believe they diagnosed her with major depression.
Did they recommend any medication?
They took her off of the Seroquel.
They took her
All of it.
off. Okay. So, did you look at the McLean records?
Yes, definitely.
And those were imported easily because you're part of the same structure or whatever?
No, but after someone is hospitalized, the hospital usually faxes it to their doctor.
All right, so if I tell you that the McLean records are really pretty voluminous, that's not what they fax. They fax you like a 2-page discharge summary, right?
Yes.
You didn't get that by fax, right? So what did McLean tell you? Look in your notes.
Which part do you want me to read?
Did you ever have her sign a release from McLean? Did you ever get access to the McLean records?
I have access to the discharge summary.
Okay, so put the discharge summary aside because that's what they faxed you, a couple of pages. What about the records?
No, but that's typically not.
No, never mind typically. The answer is no. You never got the records, right?
A discharge summary is a record.
Did you talk to the doctor that discharged her?
No, no one called me.
No what?
No one called me. I wasn't notified of the hospitalization until she was discharged.
So you just sit there behind your computer and wait for people, Patrick, wait for the doctor from McLean, wait for the sick person who's the patient to call you? And if these people don't call you, it doesn't exist apparently, right?
No, not exactly. I had no way of knowing she was even at McLean.
Well, you did once she got discharged, right?
Yeah, but that was after the fact.
Right. So did you care why she was in McLean?
Of course.
And why was she in McLean?
She was depressed.
And what was the... does your record indicate that she was discharged yesterday under interval history?
Yes.
And discharged from where?
Well, I said MGH.
Is that Mass General Hospital?
Yes.
And she was currently on trazodone?
Yes.
She indicated that the goal was to come off Seroquel,
Yes.
and she described herself as still being very numb.
Yes.
She couldn't sleep, right?
That's not entirely true.
Am I lying? I'm reading the medical records here. Sleep, taking Ativan and trazodone, slept 5 hours broken, wondering about increasing trazodone and switching to Valium. What does that mean?
Well, it means she was having trouble sleeping. It wasn't that she wasn't sleeping.
Ah, I see. Okay. So was the trazodone increased at that point?
Yes. Yes.
How about on January 9th? Did you see her through the computer or whatever then?
Yes.
And did you prescribe medication to her on that date?
Yes.
And was that diazepam?
Yes.
14 count, 1 milligram? No, I'm sorry. 14 count, 5 milligram.
That sounds right.
Okay. Did you also, on January 12th, 3 days after January 9th meeting, prescribe additional medication to her?
I'm not sure. I don't have a record from January 12th.
Do you recall on January 12th that, in fact, you prescribed trazodone 150 milligrams, 30 count?
Yes.
3 days later, or a couple of days later, January 16th, do you recall prescribing amitriptyline?
Yes.
What is amitriptyline?
Tricyclic antidepressant.
What does a tricyclic antidepressant mean?
Well, it's an older antidepressant. It's called a tricyclic because it has 3 rings. If you look at the chemical itself, like a tricycle. But it's an older but efficacious medicine for depression and anxiety as well as insomnia.
On January 16th, look at your interval history. Did she indicate to you that her mood was very low, no motivation,
Yes.
numb,
Yes.
able to force herself out of bed, taking care of basics, eating, concentration fine, caring for baby, bonding feels forced? Is that what she told you?
Yes.
Through the computer, right?
Yes.
What did that tell you? Were you concerned about this woman postpartum well within the year from the CDC at that point with these symptoms that she's telling you about?
I was concerned that she was depressed.
And in all of the times that you spoke to her, you'd agree with me that she appeared to be honest and forthright, telling you what she felt, right?
That's what I thought she was, yes.
Do you have any reason to think that she was lying to you?
No.
Diazepam taper on January 16th, 5 milligrams last 2 nights, slept for 4 hours, and then a light sleep, maybe 2 hours, stretches. Did she express that she was still having concerns about side effects from medications?
Not at that point.
So what does ROS mean under interval history that we're looking at?
A view of symptoms.
Okay. And then it says patient denies SIHI, that'd be suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation, correct?
Yes.
Denies other questions or concerns, and you recommend a low dose of amitriptyline for depression, correct?
Yes.
Patient agrees with the treatment, and you guys were also going to explore ketamine treatment. Is that right? Esketamine.
Yes.
Now, did you know that she was on her computer looking up medication after medication after medication after medication, treatments, ketamine treatments, and all that? Did you know that?
No.
Did you ever ask her whether or not she was looking up the symptomology of pharmacology and having interactions between drugs?
No.
January 23rd, you had that meeting, correct, with her?
Yes.
And this is after, obviously, excuse me, the January 16th appointment. And in the January 16th appointment, she told you that her mood was very low, and that's the worst that she ever reported her mood to you. Isn't that right?
On the 16th?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the worst it was ever reported, but it was certainly bad.
And you didn't recommend that she have a hospital evaluation, did you? This is the day before she killed the kids, right?
The 23rd?
Yeah.
It was the day before.
You didn't recommend a hospital evaluation, did you?
No, there were no,
The answer is no?
no.
They'll ask you all the questions they want. Your answer is no. January 23rd, Friday, you testified that she said her mood was depressed, and you noted that her affect was depressed and flat, right?
Yes.
She also reported that her heart was racing, right?
Yes.
She had no motivation, is what she told you, right?
Yes.
She told you that she had been feeling, numb and no emotion for 17 days straight, is what she told you, right?
I'm not sure about 17 days straight, but that's how she was feeling.
You didn't reach out to her mother and father at that point? They didn't call you, I guess, right?
No.
And Patrick didn't call you at that point, right?
No.
So she's sitting in front of her computer getting help from her doctor on January 23rd. And what did you do?
I thought about how I could best help her, the medicines that she tried and what her current symptoms were, and it made sense to slowly titrate the amitriptyline so that we could get her to a dose that reduced her depression so that she would feel better.
But you increased the amitriptyline.
Yes,
And that pushed you over the edge, didn't it?
I don't think so.
That's all I have.
Mr. Chair, we're going to take the afternoon recess.
Court, all right. Sure.
Jurors are ready for the quorum. This court's in session.
Counsel, anything we need to discuss before the vote?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Move to recess.
Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, including the defendant and including the 18 jurors.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Como, redirect.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Doctor. I apologize for my voice. If you can't hear me, just let me know.
Okay.
You were asked on cross-examination about your residency. At that point, you were already a doctor, correct?
Yes.
And during your residency, that was a 4-year period, correct?
Yes.
And you were saying that you treated patients during that time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was there someone with you while you treated these patients telling you what to do and how to handle them?
No.
Were you alone responsible for the evaluation, diagnosis, and treatment of your patients?
For the most part, but if I had questions or, needed to talk it through, I had help.
And approximately how many patients did you treat during those 4 years?
Thousands?
And those were all psychiatric patients, correct?
Yes.
You said approximately 50 of those patients were patients dealing with postpartum depression or some postpartum issues. Is that correct?
Yes.
You also said you had some specialized or specific training in that area. Can you describe that for us?
Yes, I did a specialized elective with a specifically perinatal psychiatrist where I worked in an obstetrics clinic and I saw patients who were pregnant and postpartum.
And how long was that clinic for?
It was for about a year.
And so for a year, you were evaluating and diagnosing and treating women with postpartum issues?
Yes.
And that's separate and apart from your residency?
It's a part of the residency. It's an elective.
So for 1 year out of the 4, that was specifically designated to postpartum issues?
Yes. It wasn't every single day, but it was continuing the same patients for about a year.
So you would follow those same patients throughout the year? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And you were asked about postpartum psychosis, and you said it was rare. How rare is it?
I'm not sure the statistic, but low.
Well, have you dealt with patients in your 4 years of residency that had other types of psychosis?
Yes, many.
And psychosis, whether it's from postpartum or some other mental illness, does it present the same, or does it matter what the underlying illness is?
I mean, it can present different based on the individual, but it's the same general disorder.
And so what are the symptoms or signs that you look for to determine whether someone has psychosis?
So you look at them, you assess their appearance, are they disheveled, and then you look at how cooperative they are, how they're engaging in your interview, are they answering your questions or maybe refusing to answer your questions, maybe being very aggressive. You look at their speech, whether they're speaking very fast, very loud, or the opposite, like maybe not really even speaking much at all. You look at what their thoughts are like, and we assess thoughts by what they're saying. That's how we know what people are thinking, and whether what they say makes sense linearly, or whether someone's jumping around and you can't follow them. We also assess the thoughts for their content. If someone is speaking about things that are very bizarre, things that are very paranoid, if someone is talking or making noises, or it seems like they're communicating with somebody that's not in the room, those are all things, behaviors that we assess for.
So although you'd never treated someone with postpartum psychosis, you had evaluated, diagnosed, and treated people with other types of psychosis. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see any signs of psychosis in any of your interactions with Lindsay Clancy?
No.
Defense counsel mentioned that part of your residency was during COVID. Did mental health issues just stop during COVID?
Of course not. They often got worse.
And so it's fair to say you still kept busy seeing patients on a daily basis?
Yes.
You also mentioned that some of the patients you saw in your residency, it was outpatient care. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that similar to the care you were providing to Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
And was that all 4 years you were providing outpatient care to psychiatric patients?
For 3 of the 4.
3 of the 4. You were also asked about telehealth. Is telehealth appointments in psychiatric care standard in the industry?
Yes,
And how long has that been standard?
since COVID.
And is it a fairly common and accepted practice at this point?
Yes.
Most of the session, for a psychiatric session, you're talking to someone, right?
Yes.
Does looking at someone through a computer screen somehow inhibit how you hear the answers?
No, it does not.
Or inhibit the way you ask your questions?
No.
And defense counsel asked you about, not being able to see below the waist someone's shaking or moving, but if someone's sitting and they're bouncing, can you see it elsewhere? Can you see other movement?
Yeah, sometimes it can reverberate in different parts of the body.
You were also asked about the Edinburgh scale. You said you don't use it, right?
Yes.
You said you use the PHQ-9. Why do you use that instead of the Edinburgh scale?
It's not my choice. That's the practice at Astor of what we use.
And the PHQ-9, what does that look for?
It assesses various symptoms of depression.
And postpartum depression, are there questions on the PHQ-9 that look for the signs and symptoms of postpartum depression?
Not specifically postpartum depression, but the symptoms of postpartum depression are symptoms of depression that occur during postpartum. It's the same symptoms.
So the PHQ-9 is asking the patient questions that would reveal whether or not they might be depressed, but not whether or not they just had a baby.
Correct.
And then with your interaction with the patient, you're able to know whether or not they are in the postpartum phase.
Yes.
And so would it be fair to say that you take the PHQ-9 plus the information you learn from the patient, put it together and come up with a diagnosis?
Yes.
When you take a history from a patient, you were asked about taking history from Ms. Clancy. How important is it that the patient give you accurate information?
It's very important.
And why is that?
Well, that information is being used to make treatment decisions, and a lot of things can be assessed. The things that I described before. That's very helpful, but we can't see what someone else's thoughts exactly are. So the person does have to tell them to us.
And would you agree that people in the medical field, such as nurses, are acutely aware of the necessity of an accurate medical history and symptom presentation?
Yes.
You mentioned that the defendant was able to advocate for herself. In what ways did she show you that?
In scheduling her own appointments, in presenting herself to the emergency room when things were really not going well, a different
Is therapy sessions, conversation, script or conversation?
it's a conversation.
Providing therapy to someone like Ms. Clancy, is that dependent on what she's telling you and then how she's responding to what you're saying, basically a conversation?
Yes. Therapy is a lot of listening.
Would you say it's more important in therapy for the psychiatrist or therapist to talk or listen?
Listen.
And why is that?
Because that's how you really understand what a person is feeling.
Now, is it accurate to state that in every one of your sessions with Ms. Clancy, you told her about individual therapy and encouraged her to attend individual therapy?
That was the treatment recommendation each time. I'm not sure if I explicitly mentioned it each time, but I did many times.
And you, in fact, wrote it on the work form that we talked about previously on page 104 of the records. It lists, was the patient referred to other healthcare providers for evaluation or treatment? It says yes. If yes, state the nature of such treatments and expected duration of treatment. And it says individual weekly therapy, correct?
Yes.
And this is the form that the defendant asked you to fill out, correct?
Yes.
And you sent it back to her, and the first version she wanted you to make some corrections on, correct?
Yes.
But she didn't ask you to change that portion, correct?
No.
And in fact, on the second version, on page 107 of the record, it still says individual weekly therapy recommended, correct, for follow-up?
Yes.
Would it be accurate to state that the defendant only saw Jennifer McAllister twice the entire time that she was with your practice for therapy?
Yes.
You were asked about Zoloft being used for general anxiety disorder. Is that a common drug used for general anxiety disorder?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because it's effective and it's safe.
You were also asked about the suicide warning on it, that there is a suicide warning. Is that for all ages?
No.
What ages or groups is that suicide warning for?
It's really for children and adolescents. They do say up to 24 years, but it's really children and adolescents.
Would it be accurate to state that the defendant was 32 years old when she saw you?
That sounds right.
Well, if you want to check the records,
I can check.
To be sure.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so 32 years old is not 3 to 4 years older than 24, correct?
No.
Why didn't you have to titrate the 50 milligrams of Zoloft?
You mean to stop it?
Yes.
Because it's still a very low dose, so it can be stopped right away.
So it wasn't necessary?
Not necessary.
The defendant waited about a month after receiving the prescription before taking the medication, correct?
Yes.
And she only took the medication when she decided she was ready to take it, correct?
Yes.
So she was taking in the information you gave her, correct?
Yes.
She was making her own decisions, correct?
Yes.
She was not forced to, correct?
Yes.
She actually had an appointment in between when you first prescribed it and when she started taking it, where she was still discussing with you whether or not she wanted to take it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that part of the advocating for herself that you were talking about?
Yes.
Is that part of the medical sophistication that she possessed that you were talking about?
Yes.
Your Honor, at some point, in light of the fact this is direct, I have to object.
Sure. Yeah, if you could just not ask the leading question.
Sure. I want to direct your attention to the September 12th, 2022 form that the defendant filled out. On page 16 of the record, we have different page numbers,
We
right?
do, but if you just tell me what you're looking at, I can find it.
The past psychiatric history.
Okay.
What did she tell you, Ms. Clancy, tell you about the, where it says, if yes, list the reason and dates? What did she tell you?
She said anxiety, September 2013 to September 2014, postpartum anxiety, May 2020.
And on the following page, under the past or current psychiatric medications, which ones did she list?
Prozac, 50 milligrams, and Wellbutrin, 100 milligrams.
Is there a column there that says effective yes or no?
Yes.
What was the defendant's answer with whether or not Prozac was effective?
Yes.
What was her answer as to whether or not Wellbutrin was effective?
Yes.
Is there another column there that said experienced side effects?
Yes.
Did she check off any side effects experienced for Prozac?
No.
Did she check off any side effects experienced for Wellbutrin?
No.
Going to the October 20th, 2022 appointment. You were asked about this on cross-examination about documenting side effects in your notes. Did you document the side effects that the defendant reported from the Zoloft on October 20th, 2022?
Yes.
And what did you document?
Well, I checked the box for GI, but I also talked about the side effects in the interval history.
And so what does GI mean?
Gastrointestinal.
So would that mean stomach issues?
Yeah.
And what did you put in your notes?
Couldn't sleep, insomnia, worse on increased dose, doesn't want to eat, diarrhea, food really unappealing, was more depressed on it, crying all day, yesterday, not normal, mental fog, terrified to start something new.
And so you did document the side effects that she reported to you, correct?
Yes.
You also documented in the interval history, paranoid of getting suicidal thoughts. Was that the defendant's phrasing?
Yes.
And is there a difference between someone being worried about having suicidal thoughts and someone actually having suicidal thoughts?
Yes.
And what's the difference in terms of how a psychiatrist sees it?
So that's the difference between what a patient might answer and then what the psychiatrist actually assesses. So say a patient might say they're having suicidal thoughts, but when they describe them, they're not actual suicidal thoughts. They're fears of suicidal thoughts. So that's the difference there. And I'm sorry, I think I forgot exactly what your question was.
So what's the difference in your training and experience between someone having fears of suicidal thoughts and actually having suicidal thoughts?
Well, so if it's a fear, then it means that they're not actually having suicidal thoughts. It's a negative.
And does that affect the way you proceed with treatment?
Yes, in some ways, yes.
How?
Well, you still proceed with treatment. It's still concerning, but it is a level of concern that can be managed on an outpatient basis, not requiring hospitalization.
And so, according to the defendant, she was not yet having suicidal thoughts at that time.
Yes.
So when defense counsel asked you repeatedly why you didn't document how many times she had those thoughts, she hadn't had those actual thoughts yet, correct?
Correct.
That was later in December, is that right?
Yes.
Now, she also told you that she was worried about that something bad might happen, so she arranged for her mother to stay. Is that correct?
Well, she arranged for her mother to stay. I'm not sure if that was because she was afraid something bad was happening, or it just seemed like they needed more help.
Okay. So you don't recall the two being together as a thought?
Correct.
And the fact that she was struggling and arranged to have her mother stay, got support, advocated for herself, would those be protective factors?
Yes.
How so?
So if someone demonstrates that they can advocate for themselves, that they can seek help if symptoms worsen, then that shows that they have good judgment. They can be trusted to present for care if serious safety concerns were to arise.
So based on your training and experience with Ms. Clancy, where she says she's worried about getting suicidal thoughts, and she has her mom come stay with her, do you see that as a positive decision?
Yes.
You were asked about not asking the defendant if she had called the suicide hotline. If a patient denies suicidal ideation, would you typically ask them if they had called a suicide hotline?
No.
And why not?
Because I wouldn't think that they would have. If a patient were to call a suicide hotline, I would think that they would be telling me they're having suicidal thoughts as well.
You were asked about prescribing hydroxyzine, Ativan, and Buspar. Did you tell the defendant how to take those medications?
Yes.
What were your instructions?
So the Ativan was to take as needed for severe anxiety. The Buspar was to be an everyday medicine. And the hydroxyzine, we had started that to see if she could use that as an alternative to the Ativan. So to take it instead of the Ativan. But if the Ativan if the hydroxyzine wasn't working, she still had the Ativan to use, it's stronger.
So was there ever an instruction for her to take all three at the same time?
No.
And you were asked about the contraindications of Ativan and Benadryl. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Are there contraindications for taking the two together?
It's not an absolute contraindication. You have to be careful that the person is not excessively sedated, meaning like they're so sleepy that it's hard for them to, engage in normal activities because they're so sleepy, or maybe they might feel a little bit dizzy. But it's not an absolute contraindication. You just have to monitor them.
And is that one of the reasons that you prescribed the hydroxyzine?
Sorry, is what one of the reasons?
Is the fact that the two of them together, Ativan and Benadryl. Well, let me strike that question. Why did you prescribe the hydroxyzine?
So she had been taking Benadryl, which is not a prescription medication. It's not classically within the scope of psychiatry, but it's very similar to hydroxyzine. So I thought that, hydroxyzine might be a better alternative than the Benadryl.
Okay, and I'm just going to direct you to your November 2nd, 2022 interval history. Now, would it be fair to say that on the November 2nd date, the defendant reported she was fine all day, evenings, bedtime, get anxious, Ativan helps, sleeping great on it, afraid to try something else, but knows it's not a long-term solution. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what part of that did the defendant tell you was not a long-term solution?
Taking the Ativan.
And why is that?
Because it was indicated for short-term use only. The people can struggle more with dependence if they're taking it for a very long period of time.
And was there a plan developed based on that concern?
Yes, there was.
What was the plan?
To reduce the dose by 0.25 milligrams every 2 weeks until she was off it.
So the defendant was able to express to you a concern she had about the medication, you had a conversation about it, and you addressed that with her and came up with a plan. Is that right?
Yes.
She also told you that day that she was in therapy and exercising daily, correct?
Yes.
Did the defendant ever tell you that she went to the South Shore Hospital Emergency Department on November 16th, 2022?
I don't recall that.
Did she tell you that they had prescribed trazodone to her at that time?
I don't recall that.
Did she ever tell you that she was trying some alternative methods like weed gummies?
No.
Do you have any way of knowing these things if the patient doesn't tell you?
No.
Now, on December 1st, 2022, defense asked you about that date. That's the date that she, again, said she had the fear of thoughts of suicide. Is that correct?
Yes.
Up until that point, had she consistently denied suicidal ideation or intent or a plan?
Yes.
Had she consistently denied homicidal ideation, intent, or a plan?
Yes.
What's the difference? Let me ask you this. When you talk to a patient, do you ask them, do you have suicidal ideation?
Not usually.
What do you,
not in that way.
How do you get that information from them? What types of questions do you ask?
It depends how the course of the conversation is going. I might ask if they're having thoughts of hurting themselves, if they, sometimes wish that they weren't alive. It can be a lot of different words, and sometimes I use, the patient's own words, but things like that.
And is there a difference between having thoughts of suicide versus having the intent and a plan to do it?
Yes.
And are there different types of treatment or things that you would do if someone has intent or plan to do it?
Yes, that would generally require hospitalization.
And so if Ms. Clancy had told you she had thoughts of hurting herself, or actually, if she told you that she had a plan to hurt herself or a plan to hurt her children, would you have moved to commit her?
Yes.
And that would be a Section 12?
Yes.
You were asked about the October 31st therapy session with Jennifer McAllister, and I know you weren't present from that, you're just going from the records, but you did say that in that session the defendant denied suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation, correct?
Yeah, that's what's documented.
Would there be any reason, based on your training and experience, to do that further suicidal intent assessment?
No.
Why not?
Because if someone is denying suicidal ideation, they're just going to deny every other detail about suicide.
But that further evaluation, is that very specific questions about planning for suicide, how you do it, all of those things?
Yes.
Okay. You were also asked about evaluating the defendant for bipolar, and you said that she, based on your conversations with her, there were no signs of mania, correct?
Correct.
What are the types of questions you ask a patient to determine if they've experienced an episode of mania?
Well, a lot of it is what I can see in the session. I might also ask about some of those symptoms, like decreased need for sleep, or racing thoughts, or increased risk-taking activities. But even if they're reporting those things, I would have to really see it for myself to diagnose that.
And what would you see physically?
So I might see that the person is talking very fast, and it's almost impossible to interrupt their rate of speech. And it might also be very loud. They might be hyperactive, not able to sit still. They might be yelling and jumping from one thought to another without any linear connection between the thoughts. They might, I guess that's probably what I would observe in terms of behaviors.
Did you observe any of those behaviors with Lindsay Clancy?
No, it was the opposite.
What do you mean it was the opposite?
So, the opposite of euphoria is dysphoria or depression. The opposite of hyperactivity is tiredness and fatigue. So, in a way, it was the opposite of mania that I observed.
And in terms of the questions you asked about her past behavior, were any of the answers that she gave indicative of mania?
No.
You were asked about discussing Seroquel with the defendant, even though you weren't the prescriber. Why did you discuss that medication with her?
Because the patient was asking about it, and her husband was also asking me about it. They really wanted my opinions about it. It wasn't necessarily that I was prompting this line of conversation.
And what did you tell them about it?
Well, I shared that it has very good evidence for treating depression, and I may have shared that Seroquel does does different things at different doses, right? So sometimes people are concerned that it is called an antipsychotic, but it actually doesn't function as an antipsychotic until you get up to really high doses, like 800 milligrams. So in low doses, it's more of a sleep medicine or an antidepressant. So I think that I explained that to them, and it's obviously a very important part of it. But they were also concerned about that causing the depression that she was experiencing. So we talked a bit about how you would tell. You know, it can be hard to tell whether a medicine is causing that or it's just occurring because of depression.
What did you tell them in terms of how to tell?
That it's really based on the timing. If you were to notice a significant decline after starting or increasing the medication. And
prior to Ms. Clancy taking the Seroquel, had you noticed signs of depression in her?
Yes.
And after she was off of the Seroquel in January, did you see signs of depression in her?
Yes.
So that was completely off of Seroquel, both before and after, still showing signs of depression?
Yes.
During January, the defendant told you she had trouble getting out of bed?
Is there a specific visit?
I think it was right after she got out of the hospital. Maybe your first or second visit with her.
I see that on the 16th, she did say that she was able to force herself out of bed and take care of basics, so on and so forth.
Were you aware that she had gone to the Museum of Science with her family on January 8th and spent a few hours there interacting with the exhibits and the children?
No.
Were you aware on January 15th, the day before that session, she had been to the Cape Codder down in Hyannis with the family, interacting with the kids and going down little water slides and all of that?
No.
Were you aware that on January 14th, she watched all three kids while Pat went to a brunch and was fine?
No.
Were you aware that on January 16th, her husband took Cora skiing and she was alone with the boys all day and had no issues?
No.
You were asked about the thyroid and how that can affect mental health and postpartum. Were you aware that at both South Shore Hospital and Brigham and Women's Hospital, her thyroid limits were in normal range?
No, I was not.
You received a discharge summary from McLean Hospital?
Yes.
What's contained in the discharge summary?
So it includes information about how the patient initially presented, what they said when they first came to the hospital, and their initial assessment from the psychiatrist that they spoke with. It talks a bit about their treatment course, how things progressed, any changes that were made, and then it talks about how the patient appears on the day of discharge.
Does it also include what medications they were prescribed and what the diagnosis might have been?
Yes.
And was that sufficient in terms of your review of the information that you needed for you to know about your patient at that time?
Yes, that was a very helpful amount of information that I would typically review that amount of information for a patient after the hospital.